When I first saw the house, it seemed like the perfect place to start over. After everything that had happened, the divorce, the move, the job change, I needed a fresh start. This house, nestled at the end of a long, overgrown driveway, felt like a hidden gem waiting to be rediscovered. It was a Victorian-style home, built in the late 1800s, with grand bay windows, intricate woodwork, and a turret that gave it a stately, almost regal appearance. The realtor had mentioned it needed some work, but for the price, I couldn't pass it up. I signed the papers without hesitation. The first few days after I moved in were uneventful. The house had its quirks, of course. Creaky floorboards, a roof that groaned when the wind blew. Nothing I hadn't expected. I chalked it up to the charm of living in a house with so much history. I spent most of my time unpacking, arranging furniture, and making it feel like home. But then, the strange things started. It began with sounds in the walls. Late at night, when the house was quiet, I'd hear scratching. Faint, but persistent. It always seemed to come from the same spot, behind the walls in the upstairs hallway. At first, I assumed it was mice or rats. The house was old. Vermin were bound to make themselves at home. I called an exterminator, but after a thorough inspection, he found nothing. That's strange, he said, scratching his head. No droppings, no nests, nothing. I should have been relieved, but the sound didn't stop. If anything, it got worse. The scratching turned into tapping, soft, rhythmic, like someone drumming their fingers against the inside of the walls. I'd lie in bed, heart pounding, listening to the unnerving sound echo through the house. I told myself it was just the house settling, or maybe the wind playing tricks on me. But then I started noticing other things. Doors I'd swear I'd closed would be open the next time I walked by. Lights would flicker even though I'd just replaced the bulbs. And sometimes, in the early hours of the morning, I'd feel a cold breeze pass through the house, despite all the windows being shut. One night, I woke to the sound of footsteps. Heavy, deliberate footsteps, pacing back and forth in the hallway outside my bedroom. I froze, my pulse racing. I listened as the steps moved slowly from one end of the hall to the other. They stopped just outside my door. I held my breath, waiting for the doorknob to turn, for something or someone to enter. But there was only silence. Minutes passed, and I didn't dare move. Eventually, I mustered the courage to get up. I grabbed the baseball bat I kept under my bed and flung the door open. The hallway was empty. Something felt wrong. The air was thick and oppressive, like a storm was about to break. And that's when I saw it. Carved into the wall, just below the light switch, were symbols. At first, they looked like random scratches, but as I moved closer, I could see they formed strange, intricate shapes, like some kind of ancient writing. The symbols weren't there the day before. I was certain of it. I backed away, my mind racing. Someone had to be messing with me. Maybe it was some local kids playing a prank on the new guy. But how would they have gotten inside? The doors were always locked. That's when I remembered something the realtor had said in passing, something I'd barely registered at the time. Most people don't stay long in this house, she'd said, her tone casual but with an edge of something else, something unsaid. It's got a bit of a history. I dismissed it then, thinking she was referring to the age of the home. Now, I wasn't so sure. The next day, I went to the local library to see if I could dig up anything about the house. The librarian, an older woman with silver hair, tied in a neat bun, gave me a strange look when I mentioned the address. "You bought the Holloway place?" she asked, her voice hushed. "Yeah," I replied, feeling uneasy. "Why?" She hesitated before speaking. "That house, it's been empty for years. The last family that lived there, well, they left in the middle of the night, didn't even take their belongings. Before that, there were others. People don't stay in that house long." Why? I asked, my stomach nodding. There are stories, she said, lowering her voice further. They say the house is cursed, that something evil resides within it. People have reported strange occurrences, voices, footsteps, markings on the walls. And those who've lived there, they don't come back. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. Markings? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She nodded solemnly. Yes, strange symbols. No one knows what they mean, but they've been seen before. In the walls, on the floors, even on the ceilings, always after dark. I thanked her and left, my mind reeling. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in the living room, every creak and groan of the house making my heart race. Around midnight, the tapping began again. This time it was louder, more insistent. I grabbed a flashlight and followed the sound to the upstairs hallway. The symbols on the wall were glowing faintly, pulsing with an unnatural light. My breath caught in my throat as I stared at them, my hand trembling. And then I saw it, a shadow moving across the wall. There was no one there. The shadow slithered like smoke, twisting and contorting into a grotesque figure. It had no face, but I could feel its eyes on me, watching, waiting. Suddenly, the air turned frigid, and a deep guttural voice echoed through the hall, a voice that didn't belong to this world. Get out. I stumbled backward, my flashlight flickering. The shadow seemed to grow, stretching across the walls, the floor, the ceiling, until it surrounded me. The voice came again, louder this time, more menacing. Get out! I ran. I grabbed my keys, my phone, and bolted out the door, not stopping until I was in my car, speeding away from that cursed house. I never went back. I sold the house without setting foot inside again. Whoever lives there now, I only hope they heed the warning I couldn't. Because that house isn't empty. There's something living in the walls.